Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new IDontWorkHereLady content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
The first story is titled Take Off Your Name Tag Before Shopping. To preface, this happened a few months ago. My work requires me to wear a white collared shirt with the company logo stitched on along with a name tag. I'd just finished a 14-hour shift and I needed to get some groceries before getting home, still wearing my uniform name tag and all. I'm walking to the dairy section when I hear an old lady behind me. "Excuse me, young man. Could you tell me where the flour is?" She must have been at least 80 and I happened to know where the flour was, so I decided to help her. "Here you go, ma'am." That's when another customer starts snapping and saying "hey" to get my attention. She will be Al for annoying lady. "Al, get some butter for me while you're at it, I'm in a hurry." Me. "Please ask someone else, I don't." Al. "I don't have time for this, just get it for me." Me. "I don't work here, ask someone else." Al. "Clearly you do, you're wearing the uniform, and you helped that woman over there, so stop being rude." At this point, I realize I won't be able to convince her that I don't work here, so I start walking away. Al is having none of that and starts snapping again while yelling, "Hey, I'm not done with you, I need to see your manager." I continue walking, pretending to not hear her. I'm almost at the registers when she puts her hand on my shoulder as to stop me. "Are you deaf? I'm talking to you, dumbass." That's when I get lucky because the manager of the store happens to be by the registers. So he gets over to us and asks, "Is there something wrong here?" Al. This idiot refuses to help me. Me. I tried telling her that I don't work here. Manager. "Ma'am, he doesn't work here." Al. Then why is he wearing the uniform? You're just trying to get him off the hook. Manager. Look at the logos, they're not the same. That's when she goes silent. She just looks for a second at our shirts and then she walks off. The manager says sorry to me and walks off towards Al. The sweet old lady overheard all of this and came over to me and said, "I'm so sorry. I thought you worked here." The next story is titled I Do Work There. But this is my home? So when I was 16 I worked in our local pharmacy chemist with my brother, 20 at the time. I was just a sales assistant and he was a dispenser, could put the medicine in the bag but had to have a pharmacist sign it. Anyway, because it was local to our home we knew a lot of the people that came in for their prescriptions. Neighbors, friends and just people we passed on the walk to work. Like most pharmacies we were closed on Sundays. Then at 9 in the morning I heard the doorbell ring and answered. It was a lady who lived down the road from us but we didn't really know. Let's call her Mrs. B. The conversation went as follows. Me. "Hi, Mrs. B. You work at the pharmacy, don't you?" Me. "Yes, Mrs. B. Mrs. B. Okay, good. Well, my husband needs his medicine. He needs to take it today." Me. "I'm sorry, Mrs. B, but there's nothing I can do. The pharmacy is closed and I can't just take medicine without the pharmacist." Mrs. B. "What about your brother? He deals with the prescriptions." Me. "He's not able to do it either. We need a pharmacist and it is closed. You can call emergency number but that's all we can help you with." Mrs. B. "But you both work there. My husband will die if he doesn't get his medicine." Me internally. "Should have got it yesterday then." Me. "I'm sorry but honestly we can't do anything." Mrs. B. "You need to do it now. Or I will call your manager on Monday with a complaint against the both of you." Me. "Please feel free to. As I said, there's nothing that can be done. All you can do is call the emergency number. I do work at the pharmacy, as does my brother, but this is our home. We aren't working today." Mrs. B. "I will never use your pharmacy again and you will be fired for this." Then she proceeded to storm off. Needless to say, I wasn't fired. Neither was my brother. In fact, our manager couldn't stop laughing when she got the call on Monday. Her husband didn't die. He's still alive today, 5 years later. A lot of people try the death card to get their medicine faster. It doesn't work unless it is urgent and a little secret. We know if it's urgent. I have a lot more pharmacy stories but they're for another post. The next story is titled Woman Thought I Was Doing Community Service. I was at a campsite waiting for the sun to set so I can take pictures of the night sky. I wanted to include a picture with the landscape, but there was a few rubbish and dead plants. So I begin sweep and clear rubbish of the area I wanted to look clean for the shot. Afterwards, I sat down, put on headphones and ate a snack. Then a woman came up to me and asked where my supervisor was. I hated her tone, so I gave her a dirty look and ignored her. She very rudely continued to ask me the same question. I told her to leave me alone and go away. She walked away in anger, then turned back to say, "I can see why you are in jail, mate." Then I realized she thought I was doing community service. When the sun started to set, I set up my camera gear. So she decided to move her 4WD and park where I'm obviously aiming to try and block me. When I aimed somewhere else, she would move there. I had to juke her to get my shot. Why the duck are people so miserable? The next story is titled A Return to My Box Office Roots. My first job out of college was doing customer service for a data company. Before then, I had worked at the local theater company during college and had mastered dealing with cranky old people. On one of my first days at the data company, I got a call from someone looking for the city's Opera House box office. Confused, I googled the Opera House and found out their box office number was one digit off from my work phone number. I continued getting calls for the Opera House throughout the time I worked there and would usually tell the person the correct number and they'd hang up. But there was one time where the caller couldn't grasp that I wasn't the box office. The woman who called that day was definitely an older woman, based on the sound of her voice. I tried to explain that I wasn't the box office and gave her the Opera House's phone number. She was confused and said that's the number she dialed, and she sounded a little panicked. I tried explaining the situation again, but I could tell she wasn't getting it. She was quiet for a moment and said, "I just want tickets for Friday night." So I put on my best customer service voice and asked for her name, how many tickets she wanted, and what section she wanted to sit in. She gave me the info and I told her I was going to put her on hold. I put my work phone on hold and then called the Opera House on my cell. Thankfully they had tickets available for Friday night, so I explained the situation and gave them her name. They said she could pay when she picked the tickets up at the box office. I took the old woman off hold and told her that her tickets would be waiting for her at the box office on Friday night. She was thrilled and told me all about how she was to take her grandson to his first opera. The next story is entitled Neighbor Uses Driveway Without Permission. My fiancé and I purchased our home a few years ago and our neighbor introduced herself shortly after we moved in. She seemed like a nice elderly woman who appeared to have custody of her young grandson. We had no issues until her middle-aged son moved in. This guy always yelled at the little boy and just generally acted like a dick. He drove a small, beat-up truck that leaked oil. His mother has a nice, long double-car driveway and didn't want oil stains on the concrete, so she had him park in the side yard next to our house. It was right outside of our kitchen window and kind of an eyesore, but it's her property, so whatever. We assumed that her son would drive through their yard to his parking spot, but apparently that was too inconvenient. Instead, he decided to back into our driveway and through our yard to get to his spot. We were always at work when he did this, but we caught it on our camera. Our driveway is gravel and isn't in the best of shape. Her son would take off too fast and throw gravel everywhere. After a couple days he started to leave a rut, so my fiancé went over there to ask him to stop. The mother answered the door and seemed annoyed by our request. Her son parked in their driveway after this, so we assumed that was the end of it. Well, while I was at work the following Friday I received a motion notification from one of our cameras. I check it and sure enough I see her son using our driveway once again. After work, I passive-aggressively decided to park my car at the end of our driveway. The entrance is only big enough for one car and there's a deep ditch on both sides, so I knew her son couldn't get out that way. We were planning on staying in for the weekend, so I wouldn't be moving it again until Monday morning. On Saturday we were doing yard work out front and the son came out with his dog. He gave us a dirty look but didn't say anything. I figured he got the message. We woke up around noon on Sunday to a bunch of notifications from our doorbell camera. I pull up the videos and see the neighbor's son absolutely fuming. He rang our doorbell 5 times and stood on our porch for 20 minutes. The whole time he was throwing his hands up and muttering about needing to leave. He actually expected us to get up, go outside in the pouring rain, and move my car so he could use our driveway to get out. He must have driven through his mother's yard to leave because his truck was gone. After that day he never said anything to us and only parked in her driveway, so I guess he learned his lesson. The thing is, if he would have asked us first we might have worked something out with him, but instead he wanted to act like an entitled a-hole. The next story is titled Atomic Karen. This happened yesterday evening, as I was shopping for wine at the local liquor store, still very fresh in my mind, though I think I may have left out some of the swearing. For a little background, I'm not young anymore. My beard and, I know what I'm doing here, demeanor lead to people often asking me for help, or directions or whatever, almost regardless of where I happen to be. It happens to me at the liquor store more than anywhere else, but usually only when I am there helping my mom or dad shop for wine. This particular day I was on my own, shopping only for myself, and as I didn't need to talk to anyone, I was wearing my headphones. I normally wear my headphones as I am autistic and noise can really bother me at times. They're big bulky earphones that cover my whole ear and have very good noise cancelling. Bowers & Wilkins P9 Signature Premium if anyone is curious, not cheap, but yes I consider them worth every penny. Normally when I wear my headphones no one bothers me, people see I can't hear them and just leave me be, so I generally expect no one will be trying to talk to me and assume people talking near me are talking to someone else. All that said, I clocked this Karen walking around the store with a sour look on her face. I want to talk to your manager, hair do in Atomic Blonde. We'll call her, Atomic Karen, AK for short. I noticed AK looking at some cheap white wine as I was grabbing a couple bottles of Strewn barrel-aged chard. Really nice bottle for not too expensive, for anyone who likes cool climate whites. I don't hear much through my headphones, but I heard a bit of a Karen call as I passed her. I shot her a raised eyebrow look as I kept walking. Acknowledging her at all may have been a mistake. I wasn't really paying her attention, but I was aware she was in my space so I moved along a little faster, thinking I was just in her way. I hear a faint, hey, again, the call of a wild Karen. Again I'm ignoring her as I move over to the section where they keep the general list sparkling wine, grab a couple bottles of cava. Just as I'm putting the bottles in my cart, I'm suddenly aware someone is way too close to me, and suddenly, my old school rap music is replaced with the din of the store as my headphones go careening off my head, to the ground. I wheel around, having been fully absorbed by my decision of whether I wanted actual champagne or just some cava for an upcoming family event. But now this interaction was already turned up to 11, my headphones are clattering across the ground. They had made a loud smashing noise on impact and the battery had flown out. My ears were ringing from the impact. AK was already laying into me. AK. Idiot that serves you right ignoring customers. You need to stop ignoring me and help me right now. Me. What? AK. You heard me idiot. Help me now. Me. Whoa calm down. Why are you yelling? Why did you hit me? You deserved it. You were ignoring me. Me. Lady I don't work here. AK. Yes you do. Now come help me before I get you fired. Where's your manager? I want to speak to him about your incompetence. You can't treat me this way. Do you know who I am? At this point a crowd has gathered, including some employees and a pair of police officers. If you're wondering how police got there so fast, well they were already there, just outside the door. They were getting some homeless people to move as they had been hanging out in front of the doors begging for change. I walked past them on my way in. They had come inside to investigate AK's screeching. It was at this point where the initial shock of being hit in the head for literally no reason was starting to wear off and I was suddenly realizing my headphones might be broken. They're beefy design, cast aluminium and leather, but they're still a delicate set of electronics. I start looking around the ground for where the pieces that were not still attached to me by cord had gone. Apparently this was a huge insult to AK, because she slapped me and shouted, AK. Pay attention when I talk to you. You want another one? She raised her hand to strike me again and was surprised by a firm hand on her wrist. Her rage was about to be turned on whoever just grabbed her. AK. Don't you dare touch me you little piece of shit. Who do you think? She raised her other arm to hit her assailant as she wheeled on him, but he interrupted her tirade as she realized who had her arm. Police officer. Ma'am I'm officer, redacted. You are under arrest for assault and disorderly conduct. Unless you want to add resisting arrest I suggest you cease your tantrum and come with me. Well this quietened her right down. Her tone immediately went from one of angry demanding to one of contrite mewling. AK. Oh no you see this man assaulted me. He tried to assault me. Police officer. We'll see what happened when we check the security footage ma'am, but as of this moment you are under arrest. Now are we going to have a problem here? AK went with the police and was put in the back of the cruiser while the other officer took my statement. I was calm, surprisingly calm all things considered, or at least not combative so I wasn't placed in cuffs. After checking the security footage it was clear that she had assaulted me for no discernible reason. Unfortunately, my headphones were indeed damaged, and the part that holds the batteries in was nowhere to be found. So as it turned out, this story isn't over. I was told I could sue her for the value of the headphones if she wasn't willing to pay for them. When I talked to her, sullenly sitting cuffed in the squad car, it went roughly like this. Me. Lady, you broke my headphones and a piece is missing now, you're gonna have to replace them. AK. Whatever, how much do your crappy headphones cost anyway? Me. They're $1,000. Plus tax. AK. What? You're crazy. I'm not paying for that. Duck you. Duck off. Duck you. So that's it for today. I'm suing the lady for replacement headphones in small claims court. The officer told me that with the police report to back up my claim, it's pretty guaranteed that she'd have to pay in the end. But for now I am sol on the headphones, and it may take a year or more before the court date. I dunno when it will be yet, but I am for sure not letting this go. In the meantime, AK is being charged with felony assault and disorderly conduct. The cop said I probably won't have to testify against her, as with the video evidence she'll probably just plead guilty. Part 2. Well, as it turns out, this case isn't going to court. I met with Atomic Karen, AK's husband, H, and 2 of his lawyers, along with my own lawyer. I originally expected it to be a very confrontational meeting, but I was pleasantly surprised. They were actually really nice and polite. The husband was very apologetic about his wife's behavior. H is in fact a judge, so that's probably what AK meant when she was yowling, "Do you know who I am?" Being a judge, he was able to use his contacts get AK out of jail as soon as he found out she had been arrested. However, AK didn't get away with 0 consequences. H explained how his wife suffers with paranoid schizophrenia among other serious mental illness. She had been off her medication the day I encountered her. She has at this point been remanded to the custody of a local mental hospital, where she will remain until the doctors there judge that she is no longer a threat to herself or others. H was surprised how expensive my headphones are, but he actually went online on his phone and ordered me a new pair off Amazon right away. He also offered to pay for all my legal expenses, which I accepted. He then asked if he could take us all out for lunch, which I and my lawyer, who actually already knew H, also accepted. We talked during our late lunch, and it turns out this isn't the first time he has had to clean up AK's mess. She has been getting worse over time, and he suspects she is starting to display early onset dementia. He promised he would be hiring her a nurse to take care of AK and make sure she didn't skip her medication anymore, that is, once she gets released from the psych ward. I'm not a vengeful person, and though at the time of the incident I thought AK should be going to prison for her insane behavior, I am sympathetic to people with severe mental illness. She won't be hurting anyone while she's in the psych ward, and hopefully she's now getting the help she needs. Her husband seemed like a really nice man, and I trust that he honestly wants to keep his wife out of trouble, not just with the law, but to keep her from harming others as well. I myself have struggled with my own mental illness, so in the end I really just hope H is able to keep his wife from causing other people injury. Hiring a nurse to care for her at home seems like a reasonable way to achieve this, so hopefully everything will work out for them. I'm no longer going to be pressing a civil suit. I kinda just feel bad for AK and H. Paranoid schizophrenia and dementia can really cause your life to be vastly harder at least and a living hell at worst. I wasn't injured in my scuffle with AK, and her husband covered all my expenses and replaced my headphones, so I feel like this is an okay end to the ordeal. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and post some bear emojis in the comments.